Happy Easter, everybody. He has risen. That's a great thing. That's the only positive about this Sunday, at least for me. I don't know how you guys and gals feel, but how's it going, everybody? It's your boy Wardy, and we're back at it with the latest Mets postgame show as we're 3 games into the season, and truthfully, the 2023 season still has yet to finish with how much of a shit show performance we saw once again as the Metropolitans falter to the Milwaukee Brewers by a final score of 4-1. In today's show, I'm going to headline what stood out most as the biggest takeaways, headlined by the Mets' lack of control on the pitching end, which includes Tylor McGill seeking an MRI after shoulder soreness from today's start. Unfortunately, this has kind of been a broken record with Tylor over the past couple of years, and I hope for his sake it's nothing serious, but it's certainly not a good thing, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Mets, again, being lifeless with their offense once again. If you're not named Francisco Alvarez, Pete Alonso, aside from Pete Space Knocks, which again, I'm not complaining there, but Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, ice cold to start the season as we saw. Tyrone Taylor, some production, which is great. Brett Beatty looking good with his swing too. I'm happy about that, but more mental errors from this Mets team, in which the game started where last minute we find out, oh yeah, Yohan Ramirez, he's going to be suspended 3 games. He ended up pitching 3 innings today. Was it the right or wrong move? We'll get into that a little bit more as he's appealing his 3-game suspension, not even touching Rhys Hoskins. That just shows you how soft and how inconsistent MLB is, but again, we all know that. I'm not shocked by that. Truthfully, nothing shocks me when it comes to what we deal with as Mets fans, and that also includes Carlos Mendoza being suspended a game for literally going about yesterday's situation pretty much the worst way possible, and yet he's still suspended for it. So we saw Gibby was in the helm today as Mets manager, and not a lot of good whatsoever, but is the season over? That's what we're going to talk about, right? Because naturally we have you reactionary fans, and I'm very reactionary too. Trust me. So I'm going to tell you guys what's going wrong right now, how concerned should you be, if at all, again, just 3 games into the season, our overreaction and also our rational reaction is what I want to get into, because those are 2 very different things that I want to break down today. But a lot of key takeaways from today's matchup, as again, the Mets offense was lifeless for the second time in their first 3 games of the Metropolitan season. And trust me when I tell you that I have no desire to even be having this discussion right now on this Easter Sunday, but the grind never stops here in WardyNYM. You know, we are going to be as consistent as we possibly can be all season long, no matter how high or how low we end up getting. So if you guys could do me a great favor and smash that like and subscribe on, would really mean a lot. That is the best and easiest way to support the channel. To my 200 live viewers, everyone first chime in, thank you all so much for being in here. Apologies in advance if the audio isn't as good as maybe what it was in previous shows. Out of town today for the holiday, but again, the grind never stops here. I'm in a little quarter right now, a little old office, but we're going to get the job done to get this discussion in. I'm here for the random music intro. Love to hear that, Michael. And also, you know, guys, I got an awesome new tune to share with you all for when the Mets win games, but they haven't won a game yet, so I can't even show you that. So that's where I'm at. Again, we're going to get into the biggest takeaways from this one, but I do want to shout out PB, great member. How you doing? Long time no see. Steve, Explosive, Richard, Lois, Michael, PA, Billy, Luke, Wicked, Rob, let's see here, Pinto, Surpassed, JL. Now we got Braves fans in here that love to see my misery, or they're just great supporters. Either way, I appreciate you guys. Let's see, Power King, BR, all you guys, E-Likes, Eladia, Daniel, Denny, what a name, love to see that. Crow, everybody first chiming in live on a replay. Happy to have you all in here. Again, you guys make the show worthwhile in the end, because even if the Mets lose every game this season, I know that I can talk about it with my fellow amazing Mets fans and baseball fans as a whole and go through these emotions together and really break down, again, overreaction, rational reaction, and everything in between. Thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate that, certified hater. Let's see here. If you were going to hit Hoskins, why not do it so first at bat? Here's the thing. Who even says to hit Hoskins? Maybe, just maybe, this is a crazy thought, I know. Maybe Yohan Ramirez, you know, what he did today by brushing off Rhys up and in and then striking him out. It would have been awesome if we saw something along those lines in the first at-bat with Sevy on the bump yesterday, but Sevy was giving up hits to everyone and their mother. That guy got his absolute tits lit. Seriously, talk about commanding the zone. Yeah, it was too commanded. He was throwing everything in the zone. It was barreled left and right and center. Gave up a career-high 12 hits yesterday. Was the point? Yes, I agree. If the Mets were going to go about things, I think they should have went about it in the first at bat yesterday, when you knew that there is a possibility that you're not going to have to deal with suspension, especially if you don't actually hit the guy. Yes, there was animosity from the game prior, but I think the rightful argument and counter is The likelihood of a player being suspended, even with a brush off, is far greater after the player he throws at by his head goes 3 for 3 to that point with 4 RBIs and a home run. Yeah, no shit, that's going to raise a clear red flag as to you throwing at him and the potential repercussions versus starting things out by brushing him off and then seeing what happens from there. I digress. That was in the past. That is now not currently what is transpiring, but what did transpire again that we saw was Yohan Ramirez pitching today as he appealed his suspension. We'll get into that a little bit here shortly. Only one series in, but it's just like last year, says professional certified hitter, can't convert with runners in scoring position. Yes, runners in scoring position has been horrendous. Almost like we shouldn't bat Jeff McGill cleanup like I've said since day one. Almost like you should move Alvarez up in the lineup, which I've been saying since the start of spring training. It's almost like some of these fellow Mets fans, including myself, have a decent idea of what we're talking about from time to time. I'm no expert. I'm fully aware of that. I'm very much just a diehard fan like all of you, and a lot of things I say, big reason why we do so well on the channel is because I'm very relatable with a lot of you guys, or at least you're looking for certain reactions and things of that nature. But I feel like I can relate with a lot of the common Mets fans here when saying that, yes, these are things that should have been had from the jump, are not currently the situation, and I hope for the Mets' sake they don't drag things too long with being silly with certain lineup matchups when in reality, analytics are important, yes, but you do not want them to overpower your day-to-day decision-making. In the case of, again, Francisco Alvarez DHing today, which was awesome, providing offense, why is he not batting 4th or 5th today? Why is he not? You'd have to wonder what the top of the lineup, that 1 through 4, 1 through 5 would be if Alvy was moved up. Again, it's been great to see him still have production, but I want that production more higher in the order. And that's not his fault for not being in that position. That's the managerial fault for making the decisions that they do. Whether it was Gibby who had the lineup, I guarantee Gibby didn't make the lineup today. It was 100% Mendoza. But still, I digress. That's a frustrating thing, like many things. Appreciate the comment, White Shark. My man, Darren from the UK, the best Mets fan you'll ever meet. Happy to have you in here. This is why the Mets will always be losers. Look, the Mets won't be losers forever, but today sucked. This series has sucked, and I got to give credit where credit's due. I've been saying this the first 3 shows. The Mets have done a fantastic job on doing everything wrong. The first 3 games we're seeing. Truthfully, I mean, you want to talk about embarrassment, step right up and meet the effing Mets. I mean, this is why I did want to be there at opening day, but as someone who lives 2+ hours away from Citi Field, and I know how this Mets team is currently constructed and how they're looking to start the year, there's a lack of desire to want to hit games right now. There certainly is. And I'm looking forward to hitting a lot of Mets games at Citi Field and hanging out with you guys and gals, maybe even doing some bar watch parties and stuff like that. It's going to be fun. But early baseball in Queens for overpriced parking, overpriced food, overpriced everything, overpriced tickets, to see my team put up a stinking pile of dog shit in their first 3 games is exactly why I'm fairly selective on the games that I choose to go to. The time of year, it's early in the year, it's not even April yet, it's windy, it's not, overly hot. This Mets team doesn't overly look good in a lot of those situations, and yes, while the counter might be, the Mets have gone off to great starts in some recent years, that might be true, but it didn't help them in the long run. So if there's one thing that I will say, maybe we got to use the reverse psychology here and say, you know what? Maybe the Mets being swept isn't a bad thing. Maybe the Mets having their worst record to kick off a season in a decade isn't a bad thing. Now, ultimately, I think this is going to come down to still the Mets being a fringe playoff team, either just on the outside looking in or just making it. I firmly believe that. I'm not letting 3 games sway my viewpoint one way or the other whatsoever. The same schmucks that do that are the ones that, again, are going to say fire everybody, and then the next day say I love everyone since day one. So not going to be a hypocrite with that right now. I'm not overly freaking out or reacting or anything like that. But let's get into the ball game and what was the good and what was the bad. And it starts here with Tylor Megill. Tylor Megill, again, didn't have the worst start by any stretch today, but it also wasn't the greatest. And let's get into the reason as to why exactly that was. Tylor Megill today goes 4 innings, a 3-hit, 2-run ball, 1 earned because, again, it's offensive hiccups behind him. 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, 2.25 ERA. Unfortunately, again, Gibby announced right after the game that Tylor Megill is going to be getting an MRI done after soreness with his shoulder, which went in hand with why he was pulled when he was. The frustrating thing with Tylor Megill today is even with the new spork in his arsenal, we just saw a lot of what we've seen year after year with him. It's a guy that, again, if he doesn't have velo sitting a certain way, struggles to locate. And again, if he doesn't have his breaking pitches going, that's what's going to increase the walk rate at times. So what we saw from Tylor Megill today, again, a serviceable pitcher, do not get me wrong, but a guy that we can be far from reliant on at this point right now, early on in the year. And that's why Jose Butto, who I'm certainly a decent fan of, excited to see what he can do, will be called up and will likely, assumably will be called up and could be slotted in for the Mets in, the next two, not the Detroit series, but the series after that could be slotted in to potentially pitch. So Tylor Megill struggles with the command today, couldn't work the zone well. Again, not horrendous numbers, but the big picture here, this is once again a guy that has struggled to stay healthy and is throwing 80 plus innings, 80 plus pitches in 4 innings. Like you just, unfortunately, this is a lot of what we saw last year. It's just repetition, unfortunately. It's this constant where you know exactly what you're getting. It's the same way today where I had zero confidence in the Mets whatsoever today. I'm being wholehearted, like none. Why? Give me a reason to be confident, right? Even if you say maybe have a better team on paper, which you can't even say that between the Mets and the Brewers right now, because the Brewers, again, were the Mets' day of the series, and they were last year too, and now the Mets don't match up with them until the final series of the year, which I have a feeling is going to have an impact on the Mets significantly, just because they're going to go down to the wire. But what I'm trying to get at here is this is a broken record with this team. If you guys have been following along on the channel, you know we cover the vast majority of the games each season. Last season, we covered just under 100 games because we were all tapped out after the trade deadline. It was like, what are we talking about here? But in the case of the Mets, as things currently stand, what we are seeing through the first 3 games of the season is complete repetition of what we saw last year in various ways. Lifeless at-bats, lack of momentum. When they have momentum, it's too little too late. The pitching, again, Jekyll and Hyde, lack of consistency there. It's just a lot of the same old. And, knowing that we witnessed that for an entire season last year, as someone who watched every single game that covered the vast majority, I can tell you we are all tired together. I promise you that. We are all fed up, all of us that want to see change, that want to see exciting baseball. You know how jealous I am for so many teams out west right now? I would kill to be a Seattle Mariners fan, which is saying a lot for a team that hasn't been in the playoffs and won anything in how long, just because of the excitement that they bring. The Baltimore Orioles are going to be the Atlanta Braves there of the AL East with the way that they're built. Very exciting. So many teams are just off to exciting baseball. That's the thing. The Mets were not exciting once last year. When they were, it was the Tampa Bay Rays series. It was the Cleveland Guardians sweep. Outside that, very little that you had. I need this team to show some life. I need them to give us entertaining baseball. So even though we know they're going to lose a lot of games, the Mets may very well not make playoffs this year. That is certainly a reality, even though I do believe that they're going to be in the hunt for it down the stretch. And once JDM's in the slap, it's going to make quite the difference. Having said that all, how things are currently constructed, again, it's a lifeless team. There's a lack of entertainment. It is difficult to watch this team on the day by day. It really is. The only reason why I am as locked in as I am is not just because I'm a sicko of a fan, but secondly, because I do this for a living now, right? I cover them every single day, whether I like it or not. Trust me, I'm not having fun doing this discussion right now. The only upside is that I get to talk to you fellow beauties out there that are absolutely amazing, such great supporters. And as we saw, Yohan Ramirez again comes in today after Tylor Megill gets worked a bit there, again allowing 1 earned run, 2 runs total. Yohan Ramirez comes in, and Yohan probably stayed in at inning too much. It would have been nice to maybe have him out there after the second. It is what it is. He ate the innings. I don't hate that, but still just another one of those situations where you're left wondering would things maybe be different there, because he got into an early jam, which allowed a run. Also, we'll give him credit, was able to get out of some of his jams too. Again, this is an inexperienced young reliever. I understand that. He does have some nice stuff. I'm excited to see what Yohan can do throughout the course of the 162, should he be in this Mets bullpen for a good portion of the year, which will be ever changing. And then we saw Drew Smith, Brooks really get the job done. I want to give credit where credit's due here for just 1 second. Drew Smith looked good today. He looked good. He's looked good so far this season, and he deserves the kudos, especially if you're going to play well, I'm going to shout you out. Just because maybe you haven't had a great track record doesn't mean I don't want you to succeed. Drew Smith today got himself in a jam, but worked out of it beautifully, and he deserves credit for that. Brooks Raley, again, getting the job done in the 9th. Just sucks that we had to utilize Raley in a day or it wasn't worthwhile. Same way that Edwin Diaz pitching a non-save situation yesterday was a waste. And I know Edwin was the reason for that. He said it himself. He wanted to go out there and pitch because he hadn't pitched in a while from his last spring outing. That's justified. That's understandable. But still, it just sucks when you have your proper relievers in there and you're not even in a position to win and you're not even showing any life whatsoever. Because as we get to the offensive stand, let's take a moment here, right? What stood out today on the offensive end? Well, Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, offers. Not fun. Lindor was accountable, as one can expect in his postgame today, and that's why, again, he's one of the leaders of this team. I have no concerns with Francisco Lindor or Brandon Nimmo whatsoever, and anyone calling for their heads 3 games into the season, you're the schmucks that I absolutely despise. I want nothing to do with. You're the same fans I've literally been saying that Lindor is not worthwhile because of the fact that he had a bad first month and a half, if not 2 months, in the 2021 season. Emphasis 2021. We're going to forget the fact that he's been a 6-WAR player past 2 years, 30 bombs, 100 RBIs. He was 30-30 last year. Miss me with that nonsense that he will not step up for the Mets when we need him to. Pete Alonso, yes, he didn't get any hits with guys on base today, but it was nice to see him go 2 for 4 for all the Mets fans crying. How dare Pete Alonso go out of his way to go to a Zach Bryan concert last night? Oh my God. It's almost like he's fucking human, right? Yeah, maybe shut up. That's ridiculous. Why are we even saying that? Unbelievable that we have fans reacting such a way. I know that we saw some drama yesterday too with Mark Vientos liking and then supposedly unliking the Rhys Hoskins post by Bleacher Report yesterday on Instagram about Hoskins doing well against the Mets and that whole debacle. Luis Angel Acuna liked it too. I personally don't care, but I do think that is a bad look from young, immature players, and I am curious if that was simple as, just tapping it and then untapping it, and then Acuna saw his buddy he's like, all right, I'll like it. I don't know what the context is there, and again, quite frankly, I don't really care much, but it is something to make note of just because, okay, could there be anything more to that? You're left wondering just a little bit for an inexperienced, again, frustrated batter in Vientos who had another RBI today. He's going to rake in AAA. He's a quad A player. We all know that, and Luis Angel Acuna I have no gripes with whatsoever, but just wanted to throw that out there for those that maybe were wondering that weren't aware of that prior. But then we have Jeff McGill today, again, batting cleanup. That's a problem. Why is this man batting cleanup? He's 1 for 10, 1 for 11 now. Jeff is having the same type of at-bats that we saw. Again, there were some great defensive plays by the Brewers this series that cannot be understated, both in the infield and the outfield. I mean, this is what makes the Brewers good every single year. This is what David Stern's philosophy is that he wants to build with the Mets here. It's about having great defense, strong pitching from guys that maybe you haven't even heard of are going to get quality outs for you, and a very strong and diverse bullpen. That's the Brewers in a nutshell, and they used it full-fledged, full force against this Mets team to their advantage. Starling Marte today, continuing to look good with the bat. We saw him go 1 for 4 with a gapper of a double. Francisco Alvarez in DH, which I absolutely love. If he's not going to be catching with Narvaez getting the day defensively. And I have a lot to say on Omar Narvaez here in a second. I love seeing Alvy in that DH spot. He needs to be in this lineup as much as possible. Only gripe again is why is he batting as low as he is? Have him bat him 4th or 5th every single day. I do not care otherwise, truthfully. Brett Beatty, 1 for 4 today with a couple strikeouts. Had himself a single. Brett is continuing to look solid. Again, love the pinch hit homer he had the other day. It was nice to see him get on base today with a single. Defense we know is going to continue to need to work and all those types of things, but nice to see what Brett has provided so far this season overall. Tyrone Taylor facing off against his former team, batting 8th today. Had the Mets lone RBI on a single. Love to see that from Tyrone, who provides solid defense in the outfield. Very diverse, can play center, left, and right without a problem. And then we have here Omar Narvaez, probably the far and away the worst hitter in this Mets lineup. This guy's being paid $8 million this year because of the contract clause that Billy Epler gave him that is already stinting. I said in the offseason, I had Omar Narvaez in my video of 5 Mets who won't return for the season, and I said the Mets are going to try to part ways with Omar Narvaez. It's not easy because they have to eat most of that money, and the Mets did try to part ways with Omar Narvaez this offseason, folks. There were multiple reports indicating the Mets were shopping him if anyone was interested. No one was, so the veteran Venezuelan's going to come out and really be a negative defensive player and a negative offensive player. And what pissed me off so much from Omar Narvaez today was his audacity to swing 2-0 on a pitch against a pitcher in Ray that was completely erratic. Bases loaded, you had your opportunity to pounce, and what do? The first pitch that you see in the zone, you decide to pounce on when all you had to do was stand there and you likely walk in a run, right? And that's what Omar Narvaez's job should be there. Omar, you are not the guy that we're expecting to go gap to gap for us consistently. You're not the guy to drive with power because you do not have much power, but instead, the first pitch you see, instead of taking it, which you absolutely should have in the 2-1 count there, you decide to swing. It goes high, it goes far, but it falls short on the warning track as a surprise to absolutely nobody. Omar Narvaez, if you're going to be on this team, at least be solid defensively, which you are not. Your frame jobs have been horrendous. You did make one nice play where I will give you credit today as Tylor Megill managed to get out of a bases low jam today. Huge because a little trickler by Rhys Hoskins